Hey y'all, it's your legal bestie, attorney Simone, and today I'm breaking down Diddy is suing attorney Ariel Mitchell Kidd for $100 million. Okay, Diddy is saying that she'd have lied on him, that the girl lied on him when she ran around and said, oh, he laced the baby oil with drugs, and that he, had this S tape with minors, and that she had a client back in 2018 or today she had a client that in 2018 was S assaulted by him. Diddy said, she knew that was not the truth, and he is suing for $100 million. So before we get into that, don't forget, I'm attorney Simone. You can go to my website, simoneredwine.com, to book a consultation with me. I'm actually I'm a little bit late because I'm just getting out of a hearing where I just got my client $37,564.15. Thank God for that client. That client, unfortunately, they were unable to pay the taxes on a property. And so the county took the property and sold it. But a lot of people don't realize if that happens to you or your family, if they sell it for more than it's worth, because a lot of times you'll see properties that go to tax sale for $10,000, but maybe that property, or they'll go to tax sale because they owe $10,000 in taxes. But if it sells for more than that 10, whatever that excess is, you are entitled to it in your state. And in my state, you have to apply for your excess money within 2 years of it being sold. So it varies. But anyway, so congratulations to that client. So let's hop right in it. So Ariel Mitchell Kidd, I'm going to share with you a video. So before I read from the petition, I want to play for you a clip of the interview that got her little bottom in trouble. Now, just to recollect your memory, hit that like, hit that subscribe as we come on in. Sorry, we want to keep growing. Oh, and don't forget, tonight, I am going to be back at City Winery with Don Lemon and DL Hughley. I have to say, we had a great time. So last night, they had a show, and I moderated the Q&A. We also had special guest, Congressman Jasmine Crockett. So it was hilarious. It was fun. It was funny, but it was also serious and deep. If you are in New York, it's not too late. Tonight's show is 7:30 p.m., and I strongly encourage you to come. Afterwards, there is a meet and greet. I took pictures with people, like viewers and those on the channel, etc. We just had a good old time, honey. So he's going to be coming to a city near you. The both of them, Don and DL, will be coming to a city near you, and you don't want to miss it. Trust me. Now, as for the lawyer and the client that are getting sued here, oh, I got to make sure I put my earrings on. As soon as I finish this, literally, I'll be hopping in a cab, going down to the show because they're doing another one tonight, as mentioned. So Ariel Mitchell Kidd, now she has taken on cases against other entertainment, R&B celebrities, etc. She sued Trey Songz. She had a case against Chris Brown. And in more than one case, she's gotten behind these clients who ended up being liars, and then she had to drop their cases. Now, one of them related to Diddy was Adria English. Now, she's the one, if you watch Men's channel, Make It Make Sense, she's the one that he plays a clip where she says, "Muzz it on that beat, ho." She is not okay. The best way to describe her is Adria English, or Adria, whatever you call her, Adria English. She filed a lawsuit under Ariel Mitchell Kidd, claiming that she worked one of his white parties back in the early 2000s, and that he basically promised her to some other man that was there. I want to say one of his jewelers, that he assaulted her, and that her boyfriend was a model who worked at the parties, and that basically her boyfriend didn't really want her to pursue those claims. but that, you know, those things happened back then. When I read that lawsuit, thought it sounded like bull honky. And then when I saw the girl in the interviews, I thought she was loony fucking toony. I thought she was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. The hamster was on the wheel, but the wheel wasn't turning. Wheel wasn't turning. That wheel was stuck. It wasn't going nowhere. So I think muscle on that boot hole. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And she says it with such umph and emphasis. So anyway, that was one of her initial clients against Diddy. Then she let go of that client. Now this gentleman, Courtney Burgess, is who she was representing. And basically she was talking about effectively that she saw this S tape of what appeared to be someone who could have been a minor. They said it was a celebrity even bigger than Diddy. Many have guessed that perhaps it was Justin Bieber and Diddy on this tape, and that she was trying to help do what was called a catch and kill, where she went back to that celebrity and tried to sell him the S tape, where she acknowledged that it appeared he himself didn't even know he was being recorded. And I thought, ethically, that seems to run afoul of what lawyers are permitted to do under the law. If that guy did not know he's being recorded, well, then that's a crime. How in the hell are you going to sell criminal evidence back to a victim? Now, you can give evidence to a victim all day. Baby girl, you're supposed to give that to the police. You're supposed to give it to the feds. Well, what's interesting here, and this is going to be very relevant to the breakdown of the case, is that they claim that Courtney Burgess, the client that's also being sued, does this interview right after interviewing with the grand jury for Diddy's case. Now, Diddy was arrested September 24th, which means he was already indicted. How it works is you get indicted, grand jury meets. But what that says and signifies is that they indicted him under a certain set of facts, but then they went to the grand jury again. You can keep going to the grand jury, and they did, when you want to add additional counts and additional claims. So I say that to say this confirms that the feds had the initial claims, but then as more evidence came, they wanted to present more evidence to the grand jury to see what additional charges they could bring. And as soon as a month before trial, they added 2 more counts for old Jane Doe. Y'all know I think Jane's a little Willy Wonky herself, but that's another story. We can agree to disagree there. But they added the 2 counts for Jane, one for the S trafficking, and the second one was for the Mann Act, you know, doing it to people across state lines. So here's the clip with Ariel Mitchell and her strange little client. Here we go.
Famous or not? Here now is my conversation with Courtney Burgess and Ariel Mitchell, who's his attorney, beginning with the question of whether the participants in the video even knew they were being recorded. Were there any cameras in places where you'd assume privacy, like bathrooms?
Well, I've never been in this house, but the picture, yes. Yes.
How do you know?
That's what took place, yes.
You're aware
of, you ain't never been in this house.
Surreptitious cameras that were recording in private places like bathrooms.
I didn't see the cameras. You could tell how the person was angled. I knew that was a camera there because I was there. That. You know, I was there. I don't know if the person was too tall, he was holding it or whatever, but I wasn't there.
I think this man's a liar.
May I ask you this, Courtney? And Ariel, you can jump in on this as well, but I want to hear from Courtney first. Your home was raided by federal authorities, and I assume it is because of this material. Is that true?
No.
I wouldn't say that. They just went to every one of them looking for me. They said, the paperwork said the 24th, that I had to be there the 28th.
You're talking about the grand jury. Going
27th. I can't make it there. That's tomorrow. So I don't know. From the look of it, it was 4 days.
And I want to be specific. When we talk about a raid, we're talking about when a subpoena is served for documents, a search warrant, or an arrest warrant. In this situation, Mr. Burgess was not in any way, shape, or form had a search warrant or an arrest warrant issued for him. It was just them serving a subpoena. So when the federal government needs to serve a subpoena, they use the marshal.
On the flash drives, Courtney, was what looked to be a manuscript written by to be potentially victimized, how many might have been victimizing?
I think
he's talking about he's now talking about the so-called minors and so forth that he saw in these videos. Now, what he's claiming is that somebody randomly gave him, of all men in the world, gave him a jump drive with evidence of Diddy committing crimes. Him. Oh, TD fakes. That's what they call him, TD fakes, looking like TD Jakes, but not.
Intoxicated or under the influence of drugs.
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appear to
Let me
be,
rephrase
right,
it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appear to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all.
What?
To be honest.
That doesn't make sense.
We're victims?
You're either a victim or you're victimizing. So, okay, which one is it?
Or were perpetrators.
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized.
Yeah,
meaning this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right.
Okay.
Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they was doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
2 to 3. Also on the flash drives, Courtney, was what looked to be a manuscript written by, it appears to be a woman who had taken Kim Porter's private journals and had written a book. Is that accurate?
We don't know. I don't know how. Yeah.
I don't know how.
Hello. If you don't know, why are you promoting this? Why are you promoting this as though it's truth? He is trying to, at this point, now this aired November 1st. It was recorded like the day before. He is attempting, he's talking about he's going to put this into a book. This would be the second so-called book from Kim about her life. If you don't know, why are you trying to panhandle this book, sir? TD Fakes.
Who wrote it, put it together, but it was from her when I spoke to her.
What you received on the flash drives, was it the completed book or was it notes from Kim Porter that later were made into a book?
It was completed. It's only 60, only about 54 pages. It was
sure. And in the beginning, it says, Kim made me promise that if something happened to her, I would make sure this book became public to the world. The way Sean moved, I knew that was a promise I would have to fulfill. Kim knew I was a woman of my word, and this book was going to make it to print. So it sounds like it is a woman who wrote up the notes from Kim Porter. Does that sound accurate?
It's how you read it, yes. I haven't even read the book.
How do you not read a book and then try to panhandle the book? How? Unless you are a liar. I need y'all to understand something. When I see things like this, it's very upsetting to me as an attorney because it then calls into question all the other actual victims that are not lying. So when people do this little pony dance and then they are substantiated by attorneys that sit next to them and make their claims appear credible, it does a disservice to victims across the board. And it does a disservice to attorneys who represent plaintiffs like myself across the board. Because I do due diligence. And if you sound like a nut bucket, if you sound a little loony toony, I'm going to do some due diligence. And this is the type of person that I would say, thank you so much. I'm not going to be able to take your case. And when he says, do you have anyone you refer me to? I said, I don't think that would be a good fit. Let's keep watching.
Do you know who the woman is?
No.
It's only a few minutes long.
And to be clear, he received it in its complete form. So I think just to make.
So he's saying he received this manuscript from somebody he don't know who. He thinks it's a woman just because of how the writing. For all we know, this could be the same white boy who wrote the one from Kim, but used the alias of Tupac's alias because he thought people wouldn't want to buy the book from a white boy. So, and we love all of our friends of all races. I actually need more white homegirls. So if you live in New York or you live in Houston and you're Caucasian and you like to be my friend, I would like to be your friend too. Because I've got some questions about what you guys, some of the stuff you guys are doing, but we'll talk offline, maybe over mimosas or lychee martinis. Those are my favorite. The point here is, does this sound like it makes sense to y'all? Because this sounds insane to me. It says, wait, he said he hasn't read the book, but he said something was in the book. Right. So how does he know if he didn't read the book? Yeah, nut bucket. Nut bucket. All of the nuts in one particular bucket. Here we go. We keep going. It's only like 3 or 4 more minutes.
Sure, we have some clarity here.
Yeah.
The manuscript that Mr. Burgess received was already in its complete form. It's not that he edited it or changed anything.
Got it.
He did give it to someone
Makes
else
sense.
who then edited it, but that's not how he received it.
Okay, so Ariel, did your client Courtney receive the book from the woman who seems to have written it, saying, "I'm a woman of my word, and this book is going to make it to print"?
I don't know if he received it from a man or a woman. He can answer.
I received it from a man. I told you somebody she was dating.
Who was dating?
Do you know if the notes from the book really were from Kim Porter?
It was, yes, because I spoke to her probably like 6 hours before I received it.
You lying.
You spoke to Kim Porter?
Yes.
So Kim Porter.
Just saying hi.
Okay.
Just saying hi.
Okay, Ariel, go ahead and give
He
me
said
clarity on the
hi.
timeline.
No, I'm trying to get him
Ariel.
to provide clarity of, was there a conversation with
No,
her?
I was
or
talking to the person and he said, "Hold up, this is Courtney, be right here. Let me say something to him." He said, "I know him, put me on speaker." Then that's how we end up speaking.
And then later,
Then
somebody
later.
brought somebody else came and brought you the.
I need a moment here. I need a moment. As I'm rewatching this, Ariel, Miss Mitchell kid, girl, it's like she's uncovering the story on live TV. What is you doing, girl? Hold on. I need to see that again. Maybe I misunderstood. Hold on.
The timeline.
No, I'm trying to get him to provide clarity of, was there a conversation with her? Or
okay. Yeah, he's like, to provide clarity, was there a conversation with her, or maybe she knows, and then she knows he's saying it incorrectly, and she's trying to fix it. Either way, this looks fucking crazy. Don't put this man on TV no more, and you probably need to fire him.
Talking to the person and he said, "Hold up, this is Courtney, be right here. Let me say something to him." He said, "I know him, put me on speaker." Then that's how we end up speaking.
And then later,
don't nobody know you, Courtney B. Don't nobody know you. Don't nobody know you, Courtney B.
Somebody else came and brought you the manuscript.
Right. Before I left ATL.
To the best of your knowledge, Courtney, do you believe that the manuscript is truly based on?
Y'all, you see that? Y'all, look at his eyes. Look at his. He go. Who gonna tell? Who gonna know I'm lying? Who gonna know I'm lying? Hold on, wait. I need y'all to see that one more time. Hold on. Look at the lie balls, not eyeballs, lie balls. Look at his lie balls. Come on.
Yeah.
To the best of your knowledge, Courtney, do you believe that the manuscript is truly based on Kim Porter's diaries? Because there is a lot of dialogue in there. It is pages and pages of actual dialogue, which, I mean, I can't remember breakfast today, let alone dialogue from 5, 10, 15, and 20 years ago.
That's how you know somebody's lying. Think of it, guys. If you keep a journal, your journal doesn't state dialogue. It'll give a recap of a conversation you had, but it's not going to say, Mimi, da-da-da, mom, da-da-da, Mimi, da-da-da, mom. And don't nobody have that. She passed in 2018. Don't nobody have that from years.
I guess this is a woman's scar. You understand? Maybe, what she's been through. It's, I'm not a woman, so I'm just going by
20 years ago.
I guess this is a woman's scar.
Because there is a lot of dialogue in there. It is pages and pages of actual dialogue, which, I mean, I can't remember breakfast today, let alone dialogue from 5, 10, 15, and 20 years ago.
I guess this is a woman's scar. You understand? Maybe, what she's been through. It's, I'm not a woman, so I'm just going by how you got female friends and relatives. They always come to the house scoring because what went on in their relationship. And when you're scoring, you can't forget it.
Important to stop down here.
Yeah, you may not forget what they did to you, but you don't remember sentences and words exactly verbatim. You sound like a whole fool. Yes. So guys, what we're watching is the interview that gave rise to Diddy's $100 million lawsuit. I wanted to give you this context because while I do love breaking down and showing you the legal cases, I want to do both. I want you to see for yourself how dumb this is, how goofy this is, how it was what we're seeing waiting to happen, which was a defamation suit waiting to happen. Now, here's the part. I want you to see this next clip because this is what I believe is going to save News Nation's butt. And I'm going to explain after you watch. So we had that whole interview of the weird shit that they were both saying. And here is what the host, Ashley Banfield, says.
For a moment and note again that Sean Combs is accused. He has not been convicted of any crimes. And so far, everything against him is an allegation until it is proven in a court of law and a jury either decides or he decides to sign a plea deal to any of these crimes. But at this point in the story, Sean Combs is not guilty of any crimes. He is currently under indictment. He is currently being held on bail. But if you're at all curious about how Courtney Burgess feels about Diddy today, I asked him about that too. And here's what he had.
Nobody cares. All right, we're done with that. But you see there, so what they did there, and this is what protects media outlets under defamation law, because of the fact that we want the media to cover controversial things and to do so without fear of lawsuits, that with the media, so long as they basically do what she did there, which is come out and say, listen, these are allegations, guys. These are allegations. The defendant is claiming this is untrue, that he hasn't done any of this, then they have effectively presented both sides. The problem becomes when you don't at least reach out to the other side or present the fact that the other side has denied these allegations. So that's likely what's going to happen. It says, does this affect? No, this does not impact Diddy's sentencing. Excellent question. No, it's not going to impact that at all. It says, we can imagine what the court is going to say on October 3rd. Oh, the court is going to have more than enough to consider. But the other thing that I think is also going to go in News Nation's favor is the fact that this interview was taking place right after he literally just left the grand jury, being interviewed or testifying before the grand jury in Diddy's case in New York, and drove right over to News Nation studio and did this interview. Here's why that's significant. Now, as much as I just called this man and said he was cuckoo and was nut bucket, the truth is the government must have believed that something he was talking about had some level of credibility, or they would not have called him to testify under oath before the grand jury. So I say that to say, I believe that that is going to be a crutch for News Nation, as well as for the attorney Ariel Mitchell-Kidd. Now let's hop into the actual allegations from Diddy and the team. Okay, it says, oh yeah, hit that like button, guys. Also hit that subscribe. It's not saving them because that's not what he was charged with, and they didn't fact check it. Well, this lawsuit that she is talking about has nothing to do with what his charges. This is all related to civil cases. So what Ariel Mitchell-Kidd was alleging is that she was two things: that Courtney was her client and that he had this jump drive that had this evidence on it, as well as that she was representing a woman victimized by Diddy in 2018. Now, me as a lawyer, my issue with the alleged woman who was allegedly victimized by him in 2018 is I want to know, okay, now have you been called to testify in front of the grand jury? If not, says to me that maybe the feds don't believe your accusations, because what goes before the grand jury is everything. The kitchen sink, honey. The kitchen sink. It is not limited to the counts that he ultimately went to trial for, because you put all the witnesses up, and then it's based on the testimony that the grand jury decides what charges to arise. So in other words, the fact that the feds didn't find her 2018 client credible probably meant she shouldn't either. There's a reason for that. So me as an attorney, I would have spoke with the feds and say, hey, were there any concerns with my client's testimony? Is there any concerns about her case that make you feel like there may not be credibility there. I'm still weighing whether or not we're going to file suit. And I would have talked one-on-one with the investigators, and baby, they're going to give you the truth, because ultimately we are allies. If I'm filing a civil case against the same team that's doing a criminal case, I have the ability to help them, and vice versa, and do. All right, so let me pull up and go back to the actual lawsuit so you can see what he's doing. And I knew this was coming. I feel like with the civil cases against Diddy, I think it got to a point where people thought they could just file whatever, no matter how outlandish, because he was busy defending himself in the criminal suit. And I just remember thinking to myself, at some point, when that legal team catches their breath, they about to give it to some of these people who are lying. All right, here we go. So here we are, the nature of the suit. So it says this case is about the defendant's willful schemes to fabricate and broadcast outrageous lies concerning Mr. Combs, and then leveraging those lies to enrich themselves. Okay, we're going to hop down. It says, Defendant News Nation, rather than uphold standards of professional journalism and act as a bulwark. I don't even know what that word means. I don't know what that is. Feel free to tell me what it means. It wasn't on the LSAT, so who cares? And act as a bulwark against such social media fabrications. Instead, it lent its credibility to and amplified Defendant Burgess and Mitchell's lies, giving them a mainstream media platform to malign the plaintiff, Diddy, for their profit. As a result, millions of people have come to believe in the made-up, quote, evidence that defendants falsely described and vouched for. The torrent of lies and immeasurable harm and prejudice it caused Mr. Combs must be remedied. It says Burgess falsely claimed that he possessed videos of Mr. Combs involved in the SA of celebrities and minors. Defendant News Nation recklessly repeated and amplified his lies as if they were true, even though News Nation was aware that what he was spewing was probably false. Now, it says, as a result, Burgess's lies were rebroadcast on social and traditional platforms. Now, as a result, a news anchor can always say, well, hold on. This doesn't make sense. Or, well, how is it that you know what's in the book, but then you say you never read the book? They're totally entitled to do that. Now, then it says, Burgess's attorney, Mitchell, who was recently named in a complaint by the Florida bar based on allegations that she bribed a witness to corroborate accusations of SA against a celebrity, repeated those lies. It says Mitchell knew that her client's claims were false, or at a minimum, were utterly reckless in disregarding their falsity. Because no such tapes existed, and because Mitchell never saw any video depicting Mr. Combs aying anyone, adult or minor, Mitchell's many false assertions that Burgess possessed such a video were either knowingly, blatantly false or recklessly false. Here's the thing about that, the accusations against the lawyer. It's going to be more difficult and more challenging for him to pursue successfully the claims against the lawyer, because I've mentioned this before, but lawyers, we have what's called a limited immunity. So just like how under Trump, the police have immunity. Well, the police really do they have an individualized immunity, right? Where if a police officer uses excessive force, you actually in America can't sue them individually. You can sue the police department in your city or your county that employs them, but you can't sue Jim Bob, the officer, because they have an immunity. Well, for lawyers, as it relates to defamation, we have an immunity that says if the cause of the defamation is me just representing my client and repeating what my client has told me, even if it is untrue, you can't sue me personally. Now, there's something else you could go after, which is something called sanctions. And that's more so if I have filed a lawsuit against you that is untrue and that lawyer should have known. Here, Ariel Mitchell Kidd never actually filed any lawsuit that's in this case against Diddy. So they can't raise sanctions. So Ariel Mitchell, what she's going to try and fight and do is get dismissed under the attorney immunity rule, which is really unfair because it's also, it can be unfair. I won't say it really is. Us lawyers need it because every time we represent the underdog against millionaire corporations, they would sue us for defamation. When we go on the news and tell people about their cases, I know I was sued for defamation when this corporation's product killed my client's kindergarten daughter. And I went on the news and I told everyone it had actually been recalled by the FDA. And what happened is I went on the news. I told everyone, not only is this product deadly, guys, but that it's been recalled by the FDA. It is in school districts across America, and that this company did not want people to know it was recalled. They were actually hiding the recall. When a company's product is recalled by the FDA, they are mandated by law to send each and every customer who has ever bought that product a notice that, hey, this has been recalled. If you have a car that has recalled parts or stuff, then you've probably received one of those at some point. Well, this was supposed to be a life-saving device. It was an oxygen mask supposed to save their life of a child that was choking at school or couldn't breathe. But because it was a life-saving device, the company knew that if they told schools and individuals that bought this device that, oh, hey, it was recalled because the FDA thinks it's dangerous, no one is going to repurchase it once they, air quote, fix the problem. So they were trying to save their customer base because they just got like $5 million from Jerry Jones, who owns the Cowboys. Anyway, so they sued me for defamation. So I couldn't tell people it got recalled. Well, what happened? I pulled a Cassie, baby. I pulled a Wigdor. Cassie's lawyer is Wigdor. His last name is Wigdor. I took all my little evidence. They sued me for defamation. I said, okay, I got something for that ass. I got something for that bottom. I took all the evidence. I tooted down to the FDA, though their investigators gave them a nice little manila folder with all the evidence. They investigated what I said and said, oh, Attorney Simone, you're 100% right. This product is deadly. It can kill children. We're going to remove it from the market and we're going to stop that company. And then I bankrupted the company and they don't exist anymore. Sorry, Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones lost his little $5 million investment, but now those children are alive. There are more children alive in Collin County and Frisco County and counties across America because that product's no longer in school. So I say that to say, thank God for the defamation immunity rule. I was able to rely on that and get that case kicked out. They also sued the ABC News Network in my town. We got it all kicked out, or dismissed is the word, dismissed, because you can't silence people who are going on the news to talk about a crime or a matter of public concern. But here, that it could be a defense for Ariel to say, hey, I'm an attorney. I'm repeating what my client told me. The problem becomes when you know your client's lying, then it can give rise to other claims. Now, I think what may be more appropriate here would be a bar complaint for Diddy's legal team. In the same way, it says Ariel Mitchell, it says, would be immune, but she confirmed that the video existed multiple times. And it was said in the lawsuit, she sure did. So it seems to me, Miss Mitchell, it would be real, like if I was Miss Mitchell, I would immediately file what's called a motion to dismiss anti-slap. That is basically the what you file when someone is claiming defamation and you say, no, I'm telling the truth. This was a matter of public concern. Because if that video exists, then there's not a lie there. So that seems like that's going to be very clear. Secondly, as an attorney, you can't go on national TV and claim a video exists if it doesn't. So that makes me think that either that was such a blatant lie. If that was a lie, if that really happened, it's such a blatant lie, she needs to be sanctioned by the bar. I think there may have been some gray area in between. Hey there. Hey, Evie. So glad you met me through watching Don Lemon. Thank you and welcome to, we call it the jury over here. So let me know in the chat, do you think Ariel was lying? We're going to keep going through this petition. We've got a little bit more. And I'm giving you the summary because it's really boring. Hit that like as you're joining. Hit that subscribe too. So it says here, Burgess's attorney. Here we go. I'm gonna make it bigger. Let me make it much bigger. Here we go. Now it says Burgess's attorney Mitchell. We read that already about the Florida bar and blah, blah, blah. Then it says Mitchell, who knowingly published false statements about the plaintiff on national TV in connection with her representations of another client. This is the client that claimed in 2018 she was R-worded by Diddy. It says, discussing a California woman who made outlandish allegations of a coordinated, premeditated, violent R-word, Mitchell falsely asserted that a police report corroborated her client's allegations that Mr. Combs R-worded her on a specific day in March of 2018. But in truth, no such police report exists. In fact, contrary to Mitchell's published statements, an actual police report filed by her client thoroughly discredited her client's preposterous accusations. It alleged that the client was tragically R-worded by two Caucasian men. It says white men, by two white men, not Mr. Combs, who we all know is Black. Even those allegations were deemed unsubstantiated by the popos. In other words, even the allegations against the white boys, they said didn't even happen. Again, News Nation published these lies and Mr. Combs, even though it knew or recklessly disregarded the fact that there was no such corroborating police report. Burgess peddled his false defamatory statements about Mr. Combs to promise him to promote himself on social media. I don't know what this man does or sells. Can somebody look up, what does he sell? Does he sell he sell one of those Forex multi-level marketing things? What does he sell? Bitcoin? Well, I don't know what that man sells. I wouldn't buy anything from him but a barbecue sandwich because that man looks like he knows how to eat. Okay? And doesn't he know? He look like he knows where to find a good barbecue at, don't he? Mr. Burgess, can you let me know where I get some good barbecue in Harlem or New York City, please and thank you. I only trust barbecue places, y'all, where when you walk up to the door and you open that bad boy, it smells like barbecue. In fact, I don't even want to open the door. If I walk up and I don't smell smoking, good loving, if it doesn't smell like barbecue when I just walk up there, it's not the establishment for me. Because y'all probably just put something in the microwave or put something in the oven and then just slap some barbecue sauce on it. That's not the way I roll. You need to really smoke that sucker. Okay. It says together, Burgess, Mitchell, and News Nation have caused profound reputational harm and economic injury and severe prejudice to Mr. Combs. Now, the prejudice is interesting. To clarify, this is an amended complaint. So when they first filed the complaint, it was a long, long time ago. So what happened is they filed it and then they gave him a chance they were focused on, obviously, the criminal trial. So there is multiple language that says that this is going to threaten his right to a fair trial. I have to say, as a person sitting there in the courtroom, I was waiting to hear about the baby oil laced with substances, because that is one of the things that Ariel Mitchell Kids said was there. I said, show me the baby oil, show me the drugs, show me the kids. Listen, I knew there wasn't going to be any kids when I read the most recent indictment. No kids were listed. Honey, if it was some kids up in there, we would have known. We would have known. So here is the summary of all the allegations. This is the good stuff. If you're ADD like me, you want to get in, get out, really get to it, I'm going to help you. We're going to do it right now. Hold on, guys. I hate these little mofos. Y'all, I just got a text. Hold on. This is a sidebar irrelevant. Hi, Simone. I'm John, and I wanted to check in on your property at address that I own. We've been helping homeowners who are facing tough decision and they're trying to buy my house. Don't y'all ever in your life respond to these. Y'all call me, you call another lawyer, you call a realtor, because this means your house has so much equity that they assign somebody just to call and harass you to try and get your house. Okay. My house has probably like $200-300 worth of equity in it. So now these people, but when you call these people, they want to give you about $20,000 more than what you owe, which I don't know hardly anything. Don't play with those people. Returning from the sidebar. Here is the summary of the allegations And here, Diddy, I'm going to say this. I think Diddy does have a strong case. We're going to go through the allegations, but I think that the strength of his case varies between News Nation, Oh Girl, Ariel, and Courtney. And we know Courtney don't have no money, bless his heart, because Courtney is trying to peddle a jump drive he ain't never opened. You imagine how broke you got to be peddling a jump drive you never opened on national TV. Okay, whatever. It says, defendants made, this is the first cause of action. This is basically the only cause of action. Defendants made false and defamatory comments concerning the plaintiff as set forth above. And then it says, these were the false assertions, and they're going to break them down here below. A, that there existed video recordings of plaintiff S-ing minors and celebs. Guys, wasn't no minors. You better believe the feds, with what they were trying to establish, if it was some kids, if it was some substances, we would have known. It would have been all up and through there. It says defendants Burgess and Mitchell and News Nation published each of these statements as described on or about October 31st, which was the clip I showed you just now, which aired November 1st. It says that allegations that plaintiff secretly recorded himself having S with people who did not know that they were being recorded. Defendants Mitchell and News Nation published these statements. Now, News Nation is just published. They let people say what the people were saying. But again, at the end, News Nation said, Diddy is saying this isn't true, effectively. Next, the plaintiff used secretly recorded videos of him having sex with people who didn't know they were being recorded in order to threaten or extort S partners. That never came up in trial. That a police report existed that corroborated the outrageous allegation made by Mitchell's client that she was R-worded by plaintiff. Here's the problem. More than once in this video clip, Miss Thing gets up there. Hold on. I'm going to get you the transcript. And says, let me find it. She says, she says, there you go. She says, I'm going to I'm going to attach, she says, when I file my lawsuit, I'm going to attach that police report. I'm going to do that. She sure says that multiple times. Here we go. I'm going to play that clip for you right here. Here we are. We're going to switch to this one. Hold on. She says multiple times. And we're going to, let's see, share it. She says, she said, yeah, I'm going to attach that police report. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Here we go. Is it this one? Yes.
Was make the police report in the hopes that maybe the police would try to investigate and come up with anything. But she said she kind of felt from the police that they were disregarding what she was saying, even without saying Mr. Combs' name. So she didn't feel any confidence that revealing his name would have done anything.
Sure.
Oh, because initially in the police report, she doesn't name him. And remember, later they say that it was in fact two Caucasian men. So it's one thing to say, I'm not going to include Diddy's name. It's totally different to describe the person as two other people, none of whom are Diddy. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna find. I'm gonna find the thing. Okay, here we go. I'm trying to find the word. Let me see. Attach. Hold on. Let's see. See if I could get to the point where she talks about, oh yeah, the police report. Let's see. Here we go. This part.
As soon as I file my lawsuit in civil court, I will be
there we go.
The criminal complaint that was made. I'll attach the number so everyone can see that this is a real number and can go to the police department there and request their own copy of that police report that was made back in 20.
Y'all heard that? She just said right there. She says, oh, as soon as I'm going to play it again for you guys. Oh, yeah. As soon as I file mine. Here you go.
So everyone can see that this is a real number and can go forward. I will be attaching the.
Are we going to be able to see it?
Yes. As soon
police
as
report.
I file my lawsuit in civil court, I will be attaching the criminal complaint that was made. I'll attach the number so everyone can see that this is a real number and can go to the police department there and request their own copy of that police report that was made back in 2018.
Well, that's going to be a huge deal when it happens, obviously. So we want to follow up on that. Did Mr. Combs have it?
So what may have happened is she may have relied on, thank you so much for that super chat. How do they decide the initial amount? Here they're suing for 100 million. Honestly, they just pick a dollar amount. As long as the amount you're suing for covers the minimum threshold for federal court, that minimum is $75,000. So as long as you're suing for at least $75,000, you're allowed to be in this federal court. So here, I think they doubled it. Before it was 50 million he was suing for. Now it's 100 million. I think it's probably also just to get media attention. It sounds a lot sexier when you're like, ooh, suing for 100 million, guys. But I think what likely happened here was that the attorney is believing all this stuff her client is saying, which she shouldn't, because she done had crazy clients before. Who hasn't? Or she's had crazy potential clients, because remember, she represented the whole Mustard on that beat hoe, that girl, Adria English. And then she probably got ready, drafted the petition, got ready to attach the police report and was like, wait a minute, this isn't saying any of the things that I thought it would. But now here's the thing. Under most state laws, especially Texas law, before you can file a defamation suit, you have to give someone the opportunity to retract or correct their statements. So if they do that, here, she is an Ariel Mitchell, hasn't made another set of these statements since then. Well, she doesn't have control of retracting the News Nation video because she didn't put it up. So potentially that could be a saving grace for her as well. We don't know. We'll have to see. But thank you so much again for that super chat. All right. So just wrapping up with the claims here is that, so it was also the police report line saying that he essayed somebody in 2018. It was also D, that Combs used drug-laced baby oil to incapacitate people. No evidence of that at all throughout trial. Trust and believe if they had it, they would have used it. And that possessing the purported videos of Combs essaying minors and celebrities and possessing a tell-all memoir of the mother of Combs' children, but that possessing that put Burgess in danger of his life, in other words, in fear of Diddy, and that defendant Burgess published statements. Okay, those statements were in the video that I showed earlier in this video. It says, and lastly, that plaintiff essayed and or threatened, exploited, or secretly recorded NSX hundreds, maybe thousands of people. That is something that Attorney Mitchell said, that he essayed hundreds, maybe thousands. Listen, when you don't have a single client that's telling the truth, oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Oh, well, it's going to be a little intimate in here, guys. My little light. There we go. My light went out. But when you don't have a single client who's told the truth for any consistent amount of time, to say that this has likely happened to thousands of people is a risk, because it will get your bottom in situations just like this. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that this was defamatory and that these were all lies? Or do you think maybe the feds just chose not to include this kind of evidence in the case? Because again, this came out last November. The feds amended the indictment. There was a third indictment in April of this year. So I say that to say, if in fact any of these things were true, I believe the feds would have found a way to incorporate it into the indictment, the facts, the evidence that was presented at trial, especially considering this guy himself sat and testified in front of the grand jury. So we're going to have to see exactly how it's going to go. Drop your questions below. I'm heading off to the City Winery to go moderate the Q&A panel after the show with DL Hughley and Don Lemon. Hope to see you there. If not, drop down below, hit that like, y'all, and hit that subscribe. Share this, so we can get those subscribers back up. The goal is by Christmas to try to hit 100,000. We're going to try that. That's going to be the goal. All right. I think we can do it. Of course, I got to be consistent. But thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Bye, y'all.